Well, hello and welcome to the Informed Traveler Podcast, a weekly travel podcast where our goal is to help you become a more informed traveler. And I'm your host, Randy Sharman. On this week's podcast, we're going to talk about traveling with your pets, in particular, your dog. Now, some changes are coming to the regulations about taking your dog with you to the U.S. So travel expert Onanta Forbes will join us momentarily to discuss those changes and offer some general tips when traveling with your pet. Plus, if Morocco was on your list of places to visit, we've got some insight and tips on traveling to Morocco from Devaki. She's the founder of Weave 1,000 Journeys and an expert on traveling to Morocco. And Ken Stewart from Crowfoot Travel Solutions will be along to give us a few destination ideas and travel deals with our weekly roundup. But first, let's kick things off chatting with travel expert Onanta Forbes, who joins us each week to discuss some of the travel news and travel trends. You can follow her adventures on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Onanta Forbes. OnantaForbes.com is her website. Hi, Onanta.
Hi, Randy.
We're going to be talking about traveling with your pets, some recent changes or changes coming to people that want to travel with their dogs across the border into the U.S. What's the deal with that? I kind of skimmed over that story, but I still don't know what the problem is.
Well, starting on August the 1st, the U.S. Center of Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, will start requiring that all dogs entering the U.S. will have a microchip implant and at least be 6 months old. And owners need to fill out a CDC dog import form, which can be filled out and submitted online. Now, the CDC says the form requires basic information about the dog as well as a clear a photograph of the dog showing its face and body. Now, keep a little note on this. It's not totally confirmed about this photograph requirement. So it's changing. It's a fluid situation right now. Dog owners must also have documentation of Canadian issued rabies vaccination issued and signed by a Canadian licensed veterinarian, which includes vaccination and microchip information and certifies that the dog has been vaccinated for rabies. And I think that's the end goal, is that the U.S., neither does Canada, wants rabies outbreak or spread. So this is what's triggering it. Now, the Canadian Health Minister, Mark Holland, has stated that as long as he thinks that there should be a grace period, because as long as the vaccination was administered in a rabies-free or low-risk country, which Canada is, that they shouldn't have to worry about going into the States. So lots of things going on, and it's caused quite a bit of angst for animal owners.
See, I'm an animal owner. I have a dog. Mm-hmm. We should introduce Stella to the show.
A pet expert.
And I don't have a problem with this. And I don't have a problem with this because I have interviewed veterinarians and talked about traveling with your pet. And they say, just leave your pet at home. That's the best thing for them. So I'm going to follow that advice, but I get it. I understand people want to take their pets with them. They're like family. And I suppose if you're going like a short ride for a weekend to friends or relatives, probably not a big deal. But when you're talking hours in a car, long distances, and all that stuff, and especially flying, then leave your pet at home. That's my opinion, but I do get it.
Right. Well, it's interesting because last year, pet travel was the subject of over 19 million Google searches in the U.S. alone. And 65% of pet parents saying that they're likely going to travel with their pets in the next year. So, but you do have to consider at the end of the day whether it is in the best interest of your pet, as you say. So is your pet very young or old, sick or recovering from surgery? Like you say, maybe staying at home and guarding the house, or checking out a nice a little pet vacation on his own at when it might be better and bring him or her more joy. But it is pets are very it's a big part of the family now.
Oh, I get it. Absolutely. Like I'll say, Stella is a big part of our family, but I wouldn't want to cause her undue stress by, having her in a car for 4 or 5 hours. Here's the other thing. You can't take your dog. I'm going to use a dog for an example.
Mhm.
You can't
Mhm.
take your dog everywhere you go. You can't take them into restaurants. You can't take them when you go shopping. So this is the problem. What are you going to do with your dog if you have to leave them behind for 2 or 3 hours in a really strange environment? And I don't think a lot of people understand that. And I guess everyone's situation is different, but for the most part, I'm going to stick to my initial point of view of just leave your dog at home. Or there's some very good doggy daycares, and that's we've
Mhm.
done with Stella, and she has a great time. She's playing with other dogs, and they look after her. And sometimes she doesn't want to come home.
Oh, oh, bless. Oh, well, she's enjoying herself. That's nice to hear too. And but if you do decide that you're going to travel with your pets, maybe talk to your veterinarian to ensure that your pet is fit and ask about precautions that you should be embarking. So, for an example, before you leave, have your animal's collar, license, ID tags with your name, phone number, microchip, immunization records, and the veterinarian's phone numbers and their pet food, water dishes, and toys with you. So even that's a big um, task to
Hmm.
to collect, right? And if you're traveling by motor vehicle, make sure your pet's accustomed to vehicle travel before departing on a road trip. And never leave your car unattended in a hot vehicle. We're experiencing very hot weather, not only locally but throughout Canada and worldwide. We don't want any situations that are, that that could be a ripple effect from that. Make sure the car is well ventilated and make frequent stops and bring plenty of water with you. Now, if you're traveling by plane, call ahead and make sure that your pet will be permitted on the plane because there's only a certain number of animals that are allowed on a certain aircraft.
Hmm.
Each of the airlines, like Air Canada, WestJet, Canadian North, all have great websites or links to go online and to find out about pet travel tips and traveling with animals. And make sure that you have a kennel that's a proper size for your pet. So the animal should be able to stand, sit, turn around, and lie down comfortable during the flight. Of course, there's different rules for service animals, but this is just for our pets that are just I'm going to call our leisure pets. Like they don't have a work function.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about working animals or anything like that. That's a different story altogether. Camping is another one where, again, just leave your dog at home. People that don't have animals, don't have a dog, and they're camping right beside a dog, it's annoying for them, perhaps,
Yes.
right? So you got to think
Yeah.
of other people. But I will say this, a lot of hotels, just about almost all of them now, are pet friendly. You got to pay an extra fee, but just about all of them do that now.
Oh yes, there it's yeah, when making a reservation, check their hotel policy about allowing pets and what your requirements are. But even on cruise lines, like Cunard has their own level because people when they go on transatlantic, they want to bring their pet with them. So they have pet attendants that will take care of you. They have like a fire hydrant or they even have a phone booth in case it wants to make it friendly an environment. Oh yeah, it's like it's not like this is luxury travel for pets when you're on a Cunard transatlantic,
I bet it is.
and it's not just dogs, it's cats too
Yeah,
that
I know
can
we're
bring
focusing on dogs, but yes,
dogs.
people
Yeah,
take their cats and
yeah.
whatever pet they might have. But I will stick to my original premise and say just leave them at home. They're happier at home, and they'll be happy to see you when you get back from your vacation.
Oh, there's nothing better than when you come home, whether it's a trip or just going to the grocery store, and your dog sees you and they go berserk. It's just like, oh my God, you're home.
There's
My
no
life
better
is good.
feeling.
Yes. Absolutely.
Onanta Forbes is a travel expert. You can follow her adventures on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Onanta Forbes. OnantaForbes.com is her website. Always great to chat, Onanta. I'll say hi to Stella for you.
Oh, yes. Beautiful Stella.
Well, if Morocco is on your list of places to visit, it's always good to get some tips and advice from someone who's very knowledgeable about the area. So joining us now is someone who fits the bill. She's Devaki Das. She's the founder of Weave 1,000 Journeys, the website weave1000journeys.com. Hi, Dev.
Thank you so much for having me on the Informed Traveler today. It's such a joy to be with you.
Well, like you run tours. Just tell me what Weave 1,000 Journeys is all about first.
We are a let me start from the beginning. So my training is in architecture, and I started stepping into the kitchen at a really young age of 8. And I decided in 2011 to start a company that really speaks to my passions, and so decided to create a boutique travel company that focuses or celebrates architecture, food, wine, art, working with subject matter experts, because I've been fortunate to know fantastic people all around the world, and to really create a company that would do curated, bespoke tours for people. And that's what we do. We do bespoke tours in Europe and North Africa and Africa, and having a lot of fun doing it.
Well, yeah, like if you go on your website, it's weave1000journeys.com. A lot of the destinations are on there. Today, we're going to talk about Morocco. I think it's becoming a more and more popular place that people put on their bucket list, for lack of a better term. So what makes Morocco special for people?
Well, it's a confluence of amazing cultures, isn't it? I mean, when you look at civilizations, when you look at, the Romans being there, and you look at the Islamic culture, and then you look at the Spanish, Moroccan influence, there is so much going on that enriches that country. Not to mention the people. They are so affectionate and so loving and so welcoming. It's a very, very special place, and it's rich. It's rich architecturally, it's rich culturally, experientially. And let's not forget that it all begins with the 4 imperial cities of Morocco, right? I mean, those are the anchors when you're traveling, which is Fez and Marrakesh and Meknes and Rabat. And I know that a lot of people only talk about Marrakesh, but honestly, every one of these cities, and actually the towns around it, have something very, very special to offer. So it's really a fantastic place, and I'm always recommending to people. I actually once had a client that said to me, "I want to go to Morocco for a day," and I'm like, "Honey, no, 14 days."
You're not doing it justice by going for just a day, right?
Right. I mean, I've often seen people come from Spain and they go into Tangier for the day and they hit all of the touristy places and they do a wee bit of shopping and they go home. And I got to be honest, what a waste. It's you forget about scratching the surface. You haven't even got a little bit of dirt under your fingernails and you're going back, which is no fun because, there is just so much to do. For example, like, let's talk about Fez, right? I mean, this was originally the capital before Marrakesh. And if there's one thing that Fez has that makes it so special is the craftsmanship. You've got people who've been blacksmithing and leatherworking and doing ceramics and carpet weaving for hundreds of years, the way their grandfathers and great grandfathers did. And one of the big things to do in Fez, of course, every town has the old Medina and all of that. Yes, that's a given. So we're not talking about that. But the tanneries, this is one of the oldest still living tanneries. And they are still working with the hides the way they did hundreds of years ago. And I got to tell you, it's an interesting place, huh? I mean, it's pungent. They've got the heights stacked. So it's a little bit like, I don't know about this. But honestly, do you know the trick they use is when you're standing in front of the tanneries and you see these massive vats, right? And the vats have
Hmm.
liquid where they're working the hides and then tanning, putting color into the hides. They give you the mint leaf. So you're standing on this balcony looking at this massive view underneath you with these vats, and you've got this mint leaf stuck up your nose, and you're taking deep breaths just so you can survive. I just love that. Like, okay, it's, who thought that, you would think that mint is only for tea, but no.
Yeah.
Smell it and you'll survive the experience.
So I take it like visiting one of the tanneries would be one of the highlights on your tours then.
Absolutely. That is one of the things we will do. Now, mind you, we do want people to be happy, right? And there are some. I've often come across some clients who'll say, "Look, I really don't know if I have the stomach for it," and I do tell them about the mint leaf, and then I'll leave them to decide. But when I do end up going to fairs, I don't miss out, just because it's one of the things to do, and you don't get to see that anywhere else in the world. And there's really something fascinating about seeing people standing in these vats, knee deep, waist deep, even in liquid, in these dyes and stuff. It's really incredible. And then it's nice to kind of sit and hang out, and then you see these people at lunch break come together, and they're all sharing this big couscous all together, and. But that's when you know that you're really being immersive into the culture, isn't it? It's not just about going to the touristy places, but I always think, in architecture, there's a saying, it's the life between buildings. And I think that's what it is, right? It's not just seeing them work the tanneries, but then seeing how they sit together and have lunch, and, the joy and the happiness. It's really remarkable.
Is that what separates your tours from other tour operators, where you get really immersed in the culture and the architecture and the food and those types of things?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we really work hard towards that. For example, you know, one of the things that I am really grateful to be asked this question is my clients who've, been repeat clients, have been traveling with us for years, for over a decade. They'll say, "How do you do this, Dev? How is it that every tour is more magical than the next one, than the previous one?" Sorry. And I often say it's actually to do with the destinations and the people on the ground. My job is simply to thread the gems on a necklace, to find these hidden treasures and put them on a necklace. But it's the beauty of the land and the beauty of its people. And I think all I have to do is actually listen. And, I'm fortunate to have the friendships where I can go and say, "Hey, let's do this." Or even if it doesn't exist, like, for example, if you went to the Michelin Guide and you said, "Hey, let's go eat at a Michelin restaurant in Marrakesh," well, nothing will show up. But I know for a fact that there's a Michelin chef in the hidden walls of the Medina and Marrakesh who will cook for us when we get there.
So do you personally guide these tours yourself?
No, 99% of the time, no. We do, we have an amazing network of people on the ground. Like I said, subject matter experts. We orchestrate the whole thing. We execute the whole thing. We support our clients when they're traveling with their families. So that's 99%. But then once a year, I lead just one tour. It's very exclusive, invitation only, just 10 people invited. Or 10 people can go on it. And to be honest with you, this is more for me than them. I won't lie. I think it's just being with old friends and new that makes it so magical. So it's a wonderful thing, and I do it. I do it because I can get back out there and spend time with people I adore.
Well, I would think that Morocco will be one of those places that if you've never been, you need someone kind of holding your hand and guiding you, right?
Just a little bit. I mean, I just think you have to be culturally sensitive. For example, one of the things I tell people is, look, it's at 4:51 in the morning. You should expect a call for prayer, and the minarets all over the old Medina, especially if you're staying in the riads in the old Medina, you're going to hear it, and it's a beautiful song. And but you will be woken up. You should expect to be woken up at 4:50. Another, another. By the way, I have a little trick that I think your listeners might actually benefit from.
Hmm.
So, when you're in the old Medina, it doesn't matter whether you're in Fez, it doesn't matter if you're in Marrakesh, you're going to get lost because there's like 9,000 pathways, and a lot of them will hit the dead end. So the trick I use is I take my AirTag and I leave it in the hotel room. And the Google Maps doesn't always work, but the AirTag, if you use that, no matter where
Yeah.
you are in the old Medina, you will be guided back to your hotel. And it's been an
Wow.
absolute lifesaver. Isn't that
I
great?
love that. I love that. And you could use that for anywhere, not just in Marrakesh or wherever. I mean, no matter where you are in a strange destination, if you leave the air tag in the hotel, you can find your way back.
Absolutely. But it's let me tell you, it's a lifesaver because,
Well,
it's really,
yeah.
look, one of the joys of being in Morocco is getting lost in the old Medinas, okay? And that's wonderful. But after the seventh time, it gets a little old. Like every time you walk into an alley and you've hit another dead wall, you're like, all righty then, I need to get back to the hotel. It's enough.
Well, yeah,
That's
because
the trick.
and you maybe start to panic a little bit, and it's getting dark, and you don't know where you are. It can get a little unnerving, I would think.
Yeah, but listen, people are very, very friendly, and the shopping is great. And so one of the things I also want to bring to your attention or the listeners is, you know how in Europe you would ask somebody, can you take a photograph, or can I take a photograph
Hmm.
of you? Um,
Hmm.
Moroccans don't always want their photograph taken, and you should always ask before you take a photograph. And the other thing I should mention is expect for them to say no and be okay with it.
Yeah.
Don't make a face. Don't be ungraceful. Don't stomp your feet.
Don't act like a child.
No toddler syndrome, please. But other than that, look, we're going to have so much fun when we go to Morocco. And of course, like I said, Fez and, some of the towns in between, like for example, Volubilis is something you should absolutely do because Volubilis has the Roman ruins. One of the fun things to do is to go glamping in the Saharas. The Erchebi dunes are like one of the largest, and going on the dune. I mean, just imagine waking up under the stars and having dinner and listening to music with nothing but the sand around you. It's magical. And of
Oh, I
course
bet.
you can do, yes. And of course you can do the camel ride, or you can do it by 4x4. Doesn't matter. Just do it. One of the really interesting places when I always find the Dardis Gorge really interesting because it's kind of like the continental divide
Hmm.
between the Saharan desert and the Mediterranean Morocco, if you will. And this wadi, it's called the wadi because these walls are made, or the canyon walls made by the river, but they're 900 feet tall.
Wow.
And it's an incredible serpentine drive, getting out of Saharan Morocco into, you're basically going downhill all the way into then what will be Marrakesh. But on the way, a couple of things not to miss are the two earthen southern Moroccan towns of Ouarzazate and Ait Ben Haddou. And what is really remarkable about them, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but Ouarzazate is actually like the Hollywood of Morocco. So one of the
Oh,
cool
really?
things to do, yeah, it is. Did you know a lot of the movies are filmed there?
Oh.
A lot of the movies are filmed there, so you can actually go and tour one of the studios. That's super fun.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Well, all of
but
this is fun, what you're talking about, it seems to me. So,
I
how
mean,
long is a typical tour? Like, how many days would you do to make
I
sure you got all this in?
look. I've had clients who've said to me, "Look, I want to do this in 8 nights," and then we really do have to value engineer. But otherwise, if you want to really get a sense of the country, I would say anywhere from 12 to 14 nights. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's a big country and the distances are far and wide. For example, getting out of Fez, to get drive on the backside into Merzouga, which is kind of the entryway, if you will, into the Sahara Desert and the Erchevi Dunes. That's like 8 hours. And I
Oh, yeah.
never, ever let my clients be in a car that long. That is exhausting. Can you imagine what it does to your back?
Oh,
So,
yeah.
right? So we always stop. We always have them stop in a village, like a little town. It's nothing's going for it. I mean, it's just a little stop in a little place called Medelt, and they spend the night and they have dinner with a family. And you know what? It's nice because then you've only been in the car around 4 hours. One of the things I have to mention we always look for is, and again, you may be aware of this, but Morocco has a great culture of having thousands of women's cooperatives. So wherever we are, we'll always try and stop. For example, there's one in that part of the world next to Merzouga that specializes in all products to do with rose. So it's like the Valley of the Roses. So rose water and soaps and creams, and this is the way for women. These are women cooperatives, and this is the way they support their families and themselves. And that's why I love, spending time with really authentic, on the ground organizations and people.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like there's one cooperative that only deals with daggers. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Daggers.
Yeah.
In Marrakesh, for example, we're going to be doing a cooking class with a nonprofit. And again, what's remarkable about this nonprofit, Amal, is that they are training women to have careers in the culinary arts. And again, this is another way to support society. It's another way of these women to support themselves and their families. And so when we travel, it's not just about doing the best of the best. Yes, we stay in these palaces and these exquisite Reliance Chateau, riads. And I mean, we do love the finer things of life, right? Yes, great food and all of that and wonderful wine. But also to meet people who are real artisans or people who are really, it's a way of giving back, to spend time with people and cooking with them and supporting their causes. And I think that's very meaningful.
Oh, yeah, I would think so, too. And I think that's what people are looking for when they go to destinations like Morocco. So you talked about some of the things you need to know, but what about, is language a barrier? What else do I need to know about Morocco that a North American that's never been there might be surprised about?
Well, that's a good question. The one thing I always say with travel is the best, one of the best garbs you can put on when you travel is a smile. It gets you everywhere. People are super friendly. A lot of people speak English. And look, the fact of the matter is, for most people, when they're you can always hire a tour guide, and they speak English, and you can spend a day with a local, and they can show you the best stalls in the souk. That's definitely a good way to do it. I always make sure that when our clients are traveling, they have we have some fantastic people on the ground, so make sure they have a driver and their own private vehicle. And it's great because it's like having your own family member. Like, I mean, they'll even go and pick up your laundry and take it and get it laundered and bring it back to the riad or the hotel, which is, you really feel like you're looked after. So culturally, one of the things I will mention is perhaps not the best country to wear see-through or sort of flimsy, short, very short shorts.
Mm-hmm.
Loose garb, cover shoulders, not so risque. Of course, one of the things I do mention is you'll get away with a lot when you're in a 5-star, beautiful riad with other expats from the US, and the Brits are there and everybody's there, and that's different. People are allowed in bikinis, and that's all fine. It's when you're in the old Medina, be respectful, because that's not the culture, right? Yes, that's not the culture. So be respectful and be conservative in your dressing. And again, I gave you the little tip with the photographs. That's another one.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, wear a smile and have fun. Because,
I like that.
people who say there's not enough joy and happiness in the world just need to get out more.
And wear a smile.
And wear a
It
smile.
goes a long way. It does
It
go a long way.
really does. A smile can break through so many language barriers. A scowl resonates through the streets.
Well, these are some great tips. We could probably go on for hours and hours. But if you want to travel to Morocco, Dev is the person to talk to. Devaki Das, the founder of Weave 1,000 Journeys, weave1000journeys.com was the website. Great insight.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
so
for
much,
having me
Dev.
on.
It was
Seriously,
such a great.
Randy.
We're going to have you back on.
Oh, I'd love that. I mean, we're going to have so much fun. I mean, just look at us go.
Thanks, Dev. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
This is the Informed Traveler Podcast. I'm Randy Sharman. Just want to remind you of our website, theinformedtraveler.org. That's where you can find our contact page if you have any questions or comments about the podcast. You can always email me as well with any questions you might have or segment ideas. My email address is randy@theinformedtraveler.org. And if you want to get up-to-date travel through the week or just see a few amusing travel stories and links, you can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/informedtraveler. On Instagram at Informed Traveler, or you can follow me on X at Informed Traveler. So now, as always, we'd like to end the show with our weekly roundup, and joining us to do that is Ken Stewart from Crowfoot Travel Solutions. Good day, sir. What's your week been like?
It's been good. It's been good. And again, things have been steady. And surprisingly, usually this is a little slower time for us because everybody's on a family holiday or away or whatever, but we're still ticking along. Getting some great new bookings. This week we've had some stuff come out, which I think is really good. Viking River Cruises has a brand new itinerary in Egypt, which is kind of a bucket list for everybody to go see the pyramids. So Cairo to Cairo for 10 days, starting with a couple of days in Cairo. So like I say, you can see the pyramids, ride a camel and more. Then you're going to sail for the rest of the trip on the fabulous Nile River. And I'm sure over there's all kinds of history and culture on this trip. And they're offering reduced international airfares, special cruise fares, and all for only a $25 per person deposit.
Very nice. After I seen the movie, which is it, Murder on the Nile or whatever it was called?
Yep.
And all the highlights of cruising down the Nile, I want to go now.
I think it would be a really cool place to go. Anybody I've talked to is glad that they've done it and wish they would have probably did it earlier. MSC Ocean Cruises. We don't talk about them a lot, but again, a great little cruise company. Great rates for sailings in the Caribbean or over in Europe. Enjoy drinks and Wi-Fi included, plus up to a $400 onboard credit to use on everything from world-class dining to spas. And those are all for new bookings by the end of the month. And we've got a lot of those we've talked about over the past few weeks that are coming up where the sales are ending on July 31st. Paul Gauguin, one of our favorites. And I know one of these days you're going to tell me that you're taking your wife down there so you guys can go to Bora Bora. This is a great way to see the South Pacific. Their sailings always include round-trip airfare between Los Angeles and Papeete. On Air Tahiti Nui, pre- and post-day cruise rooms are available at the Intercontinental Tahiti Resort because the flights get in really early and leave really late, so that's a wonderful extra offer in there. Transfers between the ship and airport and hotel are all included, plus your all-inclusive sailing. There's a ton of stuff you can do if you're into paddle boards and water sports and all that right off the back of the ship. And again, as I just mentioned, you can spend an extra few days with your wife.
I was just going to ask if I could do
Bora
that.
Bora. So
yeah, I was just going to ask, can I do a couple of extra days in Bora Bora and do one of those overwater bungalows?
Well, again, the ship is kind of like an overwater bungalow in a way, right? Because you're over the water.
I suppose.
And, they also welcome all solo travelers. A lot of zero single supplements on selections of 7 to 14 night all-inclusive voyages. Again, that way you can treat yourself to some genuine hospitality and pampered luxuries, unique to Gauguin, and indulge in the serenity of this overwater bungalow that sails at no additional costs. So again, something to check out. And I was Tahiti a lot of times, like I say, is more of a bucket list item and everything like that. But it's a great way to get down there and see everything for a realistic price.
I was just going to say too that it's probably not as expensive as you think it is.
Exactly. Because again, everything is all taken care of.
Yeah. Value for your dollar, as we like to say.
Exactly. Very good value for your dollar.
Right.
Last week we mentioned a couple of river cruises that are having a Christmas in July offer. Well, this week Uniworld came up with theirs. So they've got one to Christmas in July flash sale, 2-for-1 fares on select fall and winter 2024 itineraries if you book by July 31st. And if you one of those people are lucky enough to sailed on a Uniworld River Cruise before, you can combine that offer with the exclusive River Heritage Club, which is like their frequent flyer, frequent sailor. Benefit from $150 to $250 per person on select sailings. So again, some extra dollars thrown in there if you've done it before. And always good to mention to your travel agent too if you've flown on their line before or stayed at a resort before, because a lot of times we can put comments and everything on there for you, and you never know, you might get a little surprise.
Yeah, well, and a lot of them have their loyalty programs as well. So
exactly. We talk a lot about multi-gen family or friends traveling. CIA Tours, one of our tour partners for Ireland and the UK, offer private driver vacations, and these are really, really cool. You have a personalized journey, so you kind of select your itinerary and everything like that, and you put it together with them, and it allows you to explore at your own pace. You've got a local guide, and a lot of times it's the fellow person who's driving you. They handle all the logistics and bring the history to life for you for the areas. And again, it's ideal for solo adventurers, families, and even groups up to 9. They can do these tours, provide seamless and special experiences. Again, tailored to each customer's needs, so you kind of figure out what you want to do, and we help put it all together. New bookings right now are going to save you $1,000 a person on one of these private tours. So you can also save up to $1,000 per couple on their early bird bookings for their regular tours for 2025 by the end of August.
So I get my own private driver through the whole tour?
Again, so example, if there's just you and the wife or you or 2 couples, you're going to have a chauffeur private car.
I love
and
that.
They're going to take you on your itinerary. And let's say a lot of times he's the guide because he's local. Then he'll explain everything. They'll take you to castles or different things over there and everything like that. And again, so it's on your schedule, not theirs. So you drive through a little town. Hey, do we have time? There's a great little pub there. Looks like I want to go for lunch. Let's all go for lunch. You can do that.
I like. So yeah,
I think that'd be a fantastic way to travel.
I think so.
And it's not all that much pricier than a regular tour.
Right after Bora Bora, we'll do that.
Ask the question and get a price.
Right after Bora Bora.
We also like long stays. Great time and ways to get away in the fall and winter time, especially get away from our winters. Air Canada Vacations is going to take us to Portugal. We've got 24 nights, including your air. The transfers to and from your first few nights in Lisbon. Then you're going to jump on a train, head down to the Algarve region. Again, all transfers are thrown in a free breakfast, for excursions, all your accommodation, and all of this. And they picked a date just to throw this one out there, but we can look at other dates. February the 11th, 2025, if you got time, $33.19 a person. So again, if you take out the airfare, train costs, transfers, and everything, that's less than $100 a day per person.
I like that too.
Exactly.
Man, I'm going to a lot of places.
Well, again, we could put you over Portugal for a while or whatever, and then you can jump over to Ireland. They're really close.
Yeah, and then off to Bora Bora.
Okay.
There you go.
Done. Give me a call. Just a reminder again, thank you to all our clients and to you, hopefully new clients with us, for listening each week. And remember to like both the Crowfoot Travel and the Informed Traveler Facebook pages. Check them out fairly regular or put them on your notifications, and you're going to get all kinds of updates on ongoing travel situations. I know your site is really, really great for that, and we piggyback and share, along with giving you some great travel stories, tips, tricks, and advice, along with some great travel offers and savings. And again, we'd like to thank everyone. We've probably been serving Calgary in the area for almost 25 years now. So we've got you looked after no matter how small or how big your travel needs are. So you can relax. It's all taken care of.
And what's that number to call when I want to go to Bora Bora?
Hey, again, in Calgary, 403-241-7140. And if you're outside Calgary, you can call us toll-free, 877-511-5511. Then you, too, can relax, because it's all taken care of.
Indeed, sir.
Have a great week, everyone.
And that is our show for this week. If you have comments or questions, we'd love to hear from you. If you have a show idea, send that along as well. My email is randy@theinformedtraveler.org. And if you like what you heard, tell a friend. You can check out our website too at theinformedtraveler.org. In the meantime, thanks for listening, travel safe, and be an informed traveler.